Hi, welcome everyone to the Open Applied Linguistics Reading Club, Meet the Author series. It's our great honor to welcome Professor Luke Plonsky from Northern Arizona University to talk about why we need open access publishing for books too. Professor Luke Plonsky is Professor of Applied Linguistics at Northern Arizona University, where he teaches courses in second language acquisition and research methods. His work in these and other areas has resulted in over 100 articles, book chapters, and books. Luke is editor of Studies in Second Language Acquisition and managing editor of Foreign Language Annuals. In addition to a current appointment as honorary professor at the International Education Institute at University of St. Andrews, Luke has held faculty appointments at Georgetown University and University College London, and was a Fulbright Scholar in Spain in 2021. Luke has also lectured in China, Japan, the Netherlands, Poland, Spain, and Puerto Rico. Welcome, Luke.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the invitation. And I love talking about open science. And so I appreciate the opportunity to come talk about that with you all.
Thank you. So the agenda will be that Mon and I will interview just a few questions, and Luke will answer that. After that, there will be free Q&A, and this part won't be recorded. So feel free to prepare your questions. And yeah, let's discuss open science and open publishing for books.
Yeah.
So my first question for Luke is, could you tell us a bit about your response article and what motivated you to write it? For those of you who are not who are not sure about the article, it's a response article to a viewpoint article about open access published in Dutch Journal of Applied Linguistics. So there's a series of viewpoint articles you can check out, and Luke could just share us what motivates you to respond?
Yeah, for sure. So if you haven't checked out the initial piece that was written by Sibla Andrinja et al. In the Dutch Journal of Applied Linguistics, if you're only going to read one piece out of that whole series of papers, read that one. Don't read mine. Read that one for sure, because it's so good. It just lays it out for me so clearly the kind of the intellectual value and the ethical value of making our research open access. And then it outlines the process by which the Dutch Association for Applied Linguistics decided to take their journal from a for-profit or profit-seeking commercial publisher, which was Benjamin's in that case, to fund it themselves and make it 100% open access. And it's just a wonderful, lays it out so clearly. I think it really breaks down the reasons that we need to do that. And I can talk about some of those reasons, because a lot of them are parallel to the same reasons that we need to do that for publishing books as well. But they so they led it super clearly. And then what I tried to do in my response article was just to point out where there are some parallels for that process when it comes to the process and the ethical and the intellectual scientific imperative for following in the footsteps of Dutch Journal of Applied Linguistics in the case of book publishing. And I'll just say really quickly that there are essentially three things that motivated me to do that, and that's what I talked about a little bit in the article. The three kind of rationales for moving to open access book publishing is one is just really practical. So books cost money, and I see part of me feels like I never really moved on from being a graduate student, because for those of you who have been recently or might even currently be graduate students, it's like your life doesn't feel like it changes that much. It's like during graduate school, oh, you're teaching and writing some papers. Well, but guess what I do most days? I teach and I write some papers, so I feel like, and I understand the position of the graduate student so well, and I worry sometimes just about the very practical things like money and people who want to get access to research who can't because it just costs too much. And so that's a first reason. Closely related to that is the sort of what you might call the kind of equity or social justice aspect. I mean, so if it's hard enough, I think, for graduate students in, let's say, Far Eastern Asia or North America or Europe, who have well-funded libraries, if they don't have access to current research and the books are expensive, $40, $60, $80 or euros or pounds, it's a lot of money. Certainly the rest of the world doesn't have access to the research. And to me, that's just a matter of equity and justice, and it's totally it's just not right. It's not morally and ethically right. And then on the third, which is closely related to that, is the scientific rationale, which is even if you don't care, even if we didn't care about people who didn't have the funds or the resources at their libraries or personally to get access to subscriptions or to buy books, our scientific knowledge is not going to advance as quickly or as efficiently if everybody doesn't have access to the same information. And so it's a matter of scientific development and the progress for our small field of applied linguistics. So that's what I kind of tried to lay out in the article was these are the rationales that these apply. I said, I agree 100% with the lead article. And I said, all of these also, by the way, apply to book publishing. And in the case of, and one of the things I'll say about that, one advantage to possibly faster change in the context of book publishing is that books don't have the same exact incentive structure, like in terms of impact factors and citation counts, the way that journals are kind of ranked. So like a lot of us, you probably know, journals have these Q1, Q2, or the different indices and the H indices and impact factors of journals. Well, those don't apply to I mean, citations matter for books as well in book chapters, but the same kind of rankings don't exist. And so it's possible, I think, for a book publisher to sort of raise its status in terms of visibility and citations more quickly because book publishers aren't categorized like journals are in the same way. And really, anyway, it's just all up to it's up to all of us as a discipline to decide where the good research is. It shouldn't really be about those metrics anyway. So those are a few things I tried to talk about in the book. Just for anybody who isn't aware, the press is called Applied Linguistics Press. It's appliedlinguisticspress.org is the website, and it's a 100% open access press. So everything is peer reviewed, but all the books are there freely available for download in PDF form.
Yeah, and thank you for making such a compelling case for why we need, open publishing for books too, from, both practical reasons to scientific reasons. I mean, as readers, we this is certainly great news for us because we can, enjoy, good quality, research and book and knowledge for free. But we would assume that, the process must not be that straightforward. There must be a lot of work, sort of involved in launching a press and in, maintaining that press. So I wonder maybe you could share with us some of your experience of launching the ALP. And what do you see as perhaps the most significant barriers to the wider adoption of this model, and how might we collectively work to overcome them?
Sure, great question. Yeah, so it sounds kind of like big or maybe even intimidating, like, oh, like a book publisher, like a press, and it could, and sometimes that is the case. But a part of me was like, it doesn't have to be that way. We're all, I think everybody, if you're an active professional in academia, you're comfortable with, handling manuscripts and PDFs and things like that. And so putting up a Google site, or whatever, a WordPress site. So my thinking was, while I think it should be, and a few of us have tried lobbying learned societies like AAAL. I think it should be AAAL or BAL, the British Association for Applied Linguistics, or ILA, the International Association for Applied Linguistics. I really think this should be institutionally driven. In the absence of those large organizations stepping up to do it, I just was like, I'm just going to do it. I don't think that because I can. Any of us could have done it. It's just it didn't take me that long. I probably put the sort of building the structure for it, the website, the style guide, some of the other sort of materials like templates for proposals, and then a review proposal template because everything goes out for peer review. It took maybe took, I don't know, 10 hours, 10 or 15 hours. But my deal is it beautiful? Is it perfect? Does it look like 100% absolutely like commercial perfect and beautiful? No. But my thinking is, I wasn't going to let perfect be the enemy of the good or the good enough. Because in the end, what matters is that there's good content, that there's good materials for people that people have written, that scholars have written, that are valuable, that then are accessible to our community of researchers. So there were, so yeah, I had to build a website and get a domain, and I was able to get an intern funded through my university. I have an intern, his name is Peyton Hall, and so my university giving me a little bit of money, and Peyton has been working on the sort of typesetting or the formatting of the manuscripts before they go live, things like that. There's also the kind of invisible infrastructure, like getting the word out to people. And so a project like this, Applied Linguistics Press is not CUP, and it is not Wiley, and it is not Bloomsbury or Elsevier. Nobody has ever heard of it as of 6 months ago. And so what I've tried to do is I'm sort of take advantage of whatever connections or contacts I have and sort of put it out there, and also deciding that some of my own projects. So there's some of my own projects have appeared with Applied Linguistics Press. And I think that this comes up in a little bit in my article, Mung, in your article, in your response article as well. You talked about this a little bit, as did El-Houri et al.'s article. They also talked about the fact that it needs to be more established scholars, more senior folks who are willing to kind of take a chance, so to speak, on more junior open access presses, to say like, no, we're gonna invest our work, so to speak, in these kinds of presses and open access outlets, because I'm not as worried about building a name for myself. Not that I'm saying I'm any kind of big deal. I'm just like, I don't need that right now. And to me, it's more important that the work gets out there. And by the way, I'll also mention that publishing, and there's studies on this, of course, publishing open access, and I know that a lot of you are totally on board with this already. I'm not like here to convince anybody, but publishing open access is also, you might feel like, oh, I'm going down to maybe a less prestigious journal or less prestigious press with this work, but I think it pays you back later on, or not even that much later on, because open access publications are so much more, because they're visible to the whole world immediately, they get cited more often. Just take, for example, the journal Language Learning and Technology, Studies in Second Language Learning and Teaching, and now the Dutch Journal of Applied Linguistics. I'm certain that the success of these journals is coming in large part because they are open access, and so more readable, more citable, more influence on the field, which I think is great for the authors too. So a little bit of infrastructure, a little bit of effort, and it's just, but to me, it wasn't really that much different. I was already, when I started ALP, I was a book series co-editor for a series published by De Gruyter. So I sort of had like my kind of rhythms and my workflow kind of down. I did step down from that. It's like, as soon as I launched ALP, because I didn't want there to be any sort of perceived conflict of interest. But yeah, so the process is not, would I love there to be a large infrastructure and a whole big publishing house? Yes. And I think that would be best done by ILA or Ball or Triple AL or one of those. But in the meantime, I'm here and I'm happy to do it. So that's what I'm doing. It's like a two-man operation, but so far it's working.
Thank you so much for highlighting again the crucial arguments in this paper, and this paper really sets up the context of the establishment of ALP, Applied Linguistics Press. And unless, Luke, you have any other behind-the-scenes stories to share, we may open the floor for the audience to ask any other questions.
No, if I think of anything, I'll say it for sure, but I'm happy to take any questions about the press in terms of logistics or the rationale or what it is that we're trying to do.
Yes, so dear audience, please feel free to type your questions in the chat, or if you are comfortable opening your camera or mic, you are welcome to raise questions.
I'll also say, well, if anybody's thinking, as I also wrote in the article, if and when any of those organizations, ILA, AAAL, BAL, or some other, has the infrastructure and they're ready to take Applied Linguistics Press and take it over, that would be great. Because even though I'm more than happy to do it myself, I don't actually think it should be me. And it's not because I'm afraid of the work. I'm happy to do the work. I just think it should be at the institutional or societal level. I have my own biases. There may be people who say, "Oh, I don't like Luke, or I don't like the work he does. I'm not going to submit to the proposal to the press that he's running, or I don't think, I don't trust that guy, or whatever." So I'm just saying it should be some sort of like neutral, more neutral body. But in the meantime, I'm happy to do it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you, Dr. Plonsky. This topic, just opening the accessibility, making that more equitable for the world to access is a very interesting thing. But traditionally speaking, when it comes to applied linguists, they haven't been good with the books. They are not cited, when it comes to the research articles, or you have too good of a project, you tend to send it to a journal, which is or not, you just hear that it's too good to be a book chapter. So do you think this there's a change in the perception and perspective of applied linguists, or do you think this possibility of receiving more citations is urging people to go toward open access publication?
That's a great question. This is not at all meant to change the journal versus book culture in our field. So we do publish as a field. We are, generally speaking, like the rest of the social and natural sciences, we're a journal culture. So the best material, the best stuff you got, it's probably going in. The best empirical studies you got, don't submit into Applied Linguistics Press. Submit into a top tier journal. The Applied Linguistics Press is there for the projects that belong as books. So not all of us write books, but almost everybody in the field, with almost every established scholar I know has published one or more books. And the decision, and it's not like it's like, oh, should this project be a book or an article? It's based on the scope and the type of project. So there's some projects have to be a monograph, tutorials, like methodological texts. Those often work better as books because you want to walk through a number of different techniques, for example. So this isn't challenging that idea at all. Journal articles. The only place where these two things could connect is that I think this is just more opening, trying to give a bigger voice to the open access publishing in our field, and eventually, I think Applied Linguistics Press or some other organization, maybe it's AAAL, or maybe it's just maybe it's you guys, maybe it's the Open Applied Linguistics group that's leading this session here, just says we're going to just put out more open access journals, and that could be under the sort of domain of Applied Linguistics Press. A few of us have had some conversations about doing that, so it could sort of continue to move the field towards that and sort of show proof of concept that yes, it can be done. Yeah, and by the way, I'll also say along those same lines that there are a number of journals in our field that are owned by, that belong to the commercial publishers. So the journal that I'm the editor of, Studies in Second Language Acquisition, it can't be moved. It belongs to Cambridge University Press. Now, we're hoping to take the journal totally open access in 2026. And in fact, CUP has told us that by 2026, almost certainly we're going to be totally open access. And several other CUP journals have flipped. So the journal Recall and the journal Applied Psycholinguistics, those are both totally open access now. So anything gets accepted from now on in either of those journals is totally open access. We're hoping the same for SSLA. But there are other journals that are owned by societies like learned societies. So the journal Foreign Language Annals, for example, the journal Modern Language Journal, the journal Language Learning. those are not T-Cell Quarterly. Those are all prominent journals that are not owned by Wiley. They're all published by Wiley, but they're all owned by the societies that they were founded by. So those are journals that could theoretically flip to be totally open access. And those are maybe tricky conversions to make happen, but I think the conversations around those are worth having.
So can I ask a follow-up question regarding that? I mean, this is really exciting news to see that, so many journals owned by CUP are, going to be flipped to open access. I guess maybe others are wondering about this too, because CUP, even though I guess it's slightly different from the other presses, slightly, because this is a university press, but I wonder, maybe you can share with us some of the, the logic behind their operation, so that maybe this kind of principle or lessons can be taken by other, publishers, even if they're maybe for profit as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for the follow-up, Mung. Yeah, so CEP is a little bit different in that I think CEP is able to do this for a couple of different reasons. One is that it is owned by, it's a university press, obviously, it's Cambridge University Press, and so it's not for profit, but it is profit seeking, and so it has to run itself almost like a business, even though it doesn't have to report to shareholders, which would be a difference between CEP and, say, Wiley, for example. Wiley is as a for-profit company, privately owned, or I think publicly owned with shareholders. So it has to give back money, to the people that own the shares of the company. And so it has to keep making more and more money. That's one thing that distinguishes publishers like CUP and Wiley. Another is the fact that CUP, and I think it's able to flip partly because it's not like they've just decided all of a sudden that open access is the just and the scientifically and the morally right thing, right way to go, although those things are all true. It has a number of agreements with different countries and universities sufficiently so that those agreements cover their costs such that they don't need to offer any more subscriptions for the actual author. Subscriptions in the traditional sense, where like a university library will have a subscription to this catalog of CUP journals, and then that's how we get access. So enough universities are paying CUP essentially, or have agreements with them that it's going to be no subscription for anybody, which I think is great. Is that the end goal, and is that necessarily like the perfect scenario for everybody? No, because it's still public money that doesn't it's still that money has to go there to make it available, but I think it works in a lot of ways. Cesar Requena Ramos question about importance of theories and of books as being to learn about theories. Yeah, that's a great point. Books do provide a kind of a function. They provide a kind of disciplinary function. One of the disciplinary functions they provide is a kind of consolidation of accepted knowledge. That doesn't mean that they're not controversial, but you oftentimes, let's say you're new to a particular domain in the field, well, you might turn to a textbook because journal articles tend to be so niche. They address topics that are so niche. So maybe you turn to a sort of more general textbook as a way to get an understanding on the domain of a particular topic. Maybe who are the major players in that area who you may want to then you dive into the primary literature. But yeah, secondary literature like textbooks certainly has a place in terms of the development and the consolidation of disciplinary knowledge. Thanks so much. Super nice comment there in the chat. Yeah. Hey, I'm trying. I'm trying. I mean, it's still kind of an experiment. It's not like it's for sure that this will work out, or maybe at some point, no, people will just decide that they don't care and they'll stop submitting. That hasn't been the case yet. If anything, submissions have gone up and up. I just got another one a couple of days ago for a proposal, and I think as of now, there's maybe 3 books out. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and another at least 6 under contract, and another 4 or 5 sort of in preparation, or that I'm in discussions with the authors on. So it's great. And by the way, I want to just address maybe the pro bono thing also as well, because this comes up sometimes. People do talk about doing work for free Yes, this is work for free, but I actually do view it as part of my job, because we all do reviews, we all do manuscript reviews for journals, and we often do also reviews of book proposals. I would much rather myself personally be doing this work on behalf of the field than on behalf of a for-profit corporation. And that's one angle. And then another angle is also just the fact that a lot of us in faculty positions actually have time devoted to service. So in my contract at my university, 20 or 30% of my job is service. And service is divided into service to the department, to the university, then also service to the profession. And that's things like reviewing and editing. And so it's not like I'm like raising my hand here to do more and more reviewing and more service, but it's not like I feel like I'm wasting my time or giving my time away for free. This is actually part of my university contract, is to do this kind of professional service. So I think that's, if people take that little bit of just change their mindset a little bit about reviewing or editing of these kinds of things, I think it might make people more willing to contribute in this way.
Well, I have a question. We saw that we have seen that many open science initiatives in our field have been connected to various stakeholders like teachers, or maybe integrated into the training of graduate students, such as, for example, OASIS. Some people, some teachers would give graduate students to write OASIS summaries as their homework, and journals ask authors to write summaries. OASIS summaries. So do you see how, ALP more people can, more various people can get involved in ALP's work rather than, just you as a university faculty doing this?
Yeah, great question. I love that. That's a fun question to think about. I would say yes, certainly at least in 2 or 3 different ways. One, faculty members might prefer in some instances to, when it's relevant, to assign the ALP textbooks as their books. I tend to, in the classes that I teach, I almost always just provide, if I don't have a PDF of the book that I want to provide my class to use, I just scan it and give it to my class. And it hasn't caused any trouble yet, and it's saved my students collectively many thousands of dollars. So that's one thing that the teachers can do, that they can assign ALP books, which are all totally free and downloadable. Another thing that another connection we could have to education, especially graduate education, would be possibly getting involved. So anybody who's interested in being involved in ALP in any way, I would love to hear from you. If you have any skills, if you are open to reviewing proposals or reviewing manuscripts, if you have an interest in helping with design. So right now I've been working with a graphic designer who's been wonderful for the press, but she's just, again, doing it like volunteer. And I feel like at some point, I feel like maybe it's too much, and I don't want to, like, let's say Applied Linguistics Press was doing 20 books a year or something like that. So far it's nothing like that, but if it was, that would be a lot to ask of somebody who's doing it totally pro bono. So if you have some skills with design, or eventually, my funding for my intern is going to run out, who does the formatting of the manuscripts. If people want to be involved in it, and if people want to be involved in academic publishing, I think that's actually a useful kind of experience to have. So there's a couple different ways that maybe people could be involved. I'll also pretty soon, realizing the practicality of this, or I should say the impracticality of the press, and that I do want to be able to pay for the ways that people contribute, not to authors per se, but to the people that do like the design work and the formatting of the manuscripts, student workers and things like that. So I will soon be putting up like a kind of like a merch shop. So like, I know it sounds funny, but like stickers and mugs and baseball caps and t-shirts and tote bags and things like that. And so people can spread the word. And then it's not all going to be like Applied Linguistics Press stuff. It's going to be other stuff related to linguistics, just because, in a way, as a way to bring in a little bit of money to the press, so then I can pay people who are working for the press. I'm just going to be doing this volunteer, But if anybody, I would like to be able to, for example, when the woman who's been doing the designs, I'd love to be able to just say, okay, I can pay you $100 per design or something like that, whatever it happened to be. So there's a couple different ways.
Thank you so much for sharing and the active participation from all the other readers. And thank you again, Luke, for this session. It's not a long session, but there's a lot of information there, and I think the efforts for open science will continue to grow. And everyone here, please remember to check out again the Dutch Journal of Applied Linguistics. It's a diamond open access journal, and there are many good articles there and Luke's articles there. And we will try to invite more authors to our reading club. So please keep an eye on our social media. And if you want to review this session, it will be on our YouTube channel soon. And yeah, and let's stay in touch and keep talking about open science in this platform. So thank you everyone so much for participation, and thank you, Luke, again. Have
Thanks
a
so much for
nice
having me.
day.
Bye, everyone.